Greetings, YouTube. Recently, my wife and I got a chance to see The World's End with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. The end of the trilogy that was started with Shaun of the Dead, then went to Hot Fuzz, and now The World's End. I do recommend you go look up at the IMDb page and read the trivia section. It is full of background information. It's all very spoilerific, so be aware of this. And this discussion here is going to be spoilerific, so be aware of that as well. The basic premise of this is that there's a bunch of high school lads, they're friends, there's 5 of them, and they try to go onto an epic 10 pub crawl. Was it? Yeah, 10 pub crawl. Interestingly, the town that this was filmed in doesn't actually have 10 pubs. But, and they fail. They don't go through all of them. Jump forward 20 years, and one of them is still stuck. He hasn't grown up. He hasn't moved on. He's still that adolescent. He's just 38, 39. And he wants to do it. So he tries to get all the lads back together again, and they try to go on this epic thing in their old hometown, and things go strange. They go pear-shaped, as they say. And over the course of their pub crawl, they discover that their old hometown has been taken over by robots. And for 90% of this film, I really enjoyed myself. There are all kinds of hidden gems in here. The lines, the script is solid, the acting is great, the action is wonderful, and it's interesting because they make the robots very, very breakable, which is a nice way of letting these middle-aged men act like toughs, because they can hit things and break them, ripping limbs off and crushing skulls and stuff. And at the end of the fight scenes, they kind of like reassemble themselves, and they're pretty much right as rain. But it lets them be the toughs, because in reality, these guys are just average people. They aren't martial artists, great fighters and stuff. They're just guys. They look like ordinary, everyday people. They really do look like just your average British citizens, and it's wonderful. There aren't any overly pretty people in this, which is nice. They look very much like regular human beings. And there was another James Bond in this one. There was a James Bond in Hot Fuzz, and there's James Bond in this one too. It's great. And the female lead in this was a Bond girl, also great. Or in a Bond film, I should say, not a Bond girl necessarily, but in the Bond film. And I really enjoyed 90% of this film. And when we come to the end of it, and our characters, 3 of them are still together. They're all very, very drunk. And they confront the aliens. And we find out that this is part of an interstellar network. And they infiltrate a society. They replace certain people. They sell themselves to the population, essentially. They seduce them into the new culture, and eventually they become nice, law-abiding members of the interstellar connection network, called the Network. But humans have been very resistant. And in fact, they've replaced everyone in this village except for 3 people. And we find out that by replacing them, it means they've killed them. And the 3 drunk guys say, humans don't need this, we're individuals, and we want freedom and stuff, and act like, basically presenting the Earth like humans are adolescents, which pretty much we are. We're stuck in our adolescence. We need to move beyond that. And then the aliens leave. When the aliens decide they're going to give up, they essentially wipe out all the electronics of the world. They basically an EMP, all gone. So everything anything after 1990, which is when they landed, all the technology was supposed to have been made by them. So previous to that, our technology should probably still be in existence and possibly still functioning, I'm not sure. But everything goes gone, and suddenly it's the 19th century again, essentially. Now, I had a real problem with the end of it as I thought about it. And the problem is this. These aliens had decades, maybe centuries, to watch Earth. And the best way they could come up with to sell humanity on this idea is to murder people and replace them with Stepford wives. So that's their introduction into humanity. Killing people and turning them into fertilizer and then replacing them with Stepford Wives. Not effective. Not moral. If they'd just shown up and said, we're aliens, and then handed technology to us that would say, for example, make sure that no human being was ever hungry or homeless, and a new power source that was renewable, they could have sold us in a heartbeat and we would have joined their network without an issue. Some, of course, wouldn't, but the majority of people would. It'd be like handing everyone in the world an iPhone 6 and saying all you gotta do is not kill each other and you can be, or not kill anybody and you can be part of our network. The sale would work, and the majority of people, I think, would have hopped on board. I know I would have. But the response to humanity to that EMP would have been far worse. So the aliens are petty douche nozzles. Okay, if you're not going to play the way we're going to do it, we're going to destroy your entire culture. When I mean they destroy your entire culture, their actions and the actions of these three drunk guys would have killed billions. Why do I say that? Because what do you think would happen to all the nuclear powers of Earth if suddenly an EMP wiped out all of the electronics? Military electronics are hardened against that. Military electronics are going to work after an EMP, especially all the ones buried underground and in subs. Guess what they would do? Launch every nuclear, biological, and chemical weapon known to man. And anything they could thought had been the source, since no one else knows about the aliens, they're going to assume it's all their enemies, the Russians, the Chinese, and Americans, and they're just going to be missiles flying everywhere. Billions would die. Within 3 years, they'd be lucky if there were 1 billion human beings left across the entire planet. It would knock us back into the 18th century in a heartbeat. All because we didn't want to play their evil, immoral game. And those three drunk guys who said, kiss off, we don't want you to be part of your system, would be the greatest mass murderers in history. Who are they to make a decision for all of humanity? So for 90% of this film, I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. And I thought the ending was horrible. Because the aliens were jerks. These three drunk guys threw humanity into the meat grinder because they were drunk, petulant children. It wasn't a good finish. And The World's End really was. And it would be far worse than is portrayed in the film. Far worse. So, there you have it. Full of spoilers. I'm disappointed with the ending. The rest of the film was fine, and I don't think I have the case with it. I don't know if there's any commentary on it. If there is, I'll probably watch it again someday with it, because I like commentary tracks. But I was just thoroughly and completely unhappy with the ending. If anyone else has seen this film, tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm completely nuts. Most people say I look too deeply into films. I can't help it. It's the way my brain works. I dissect things. I look for how the plot should have worked and how the plot would have had certain ramifications in the real world. These things I just do. It's the way I have always been. So, tell me, what did you think of this movie?